Friends, family, and keepers of the faith, welcome to another Del Boy blog. And as you know, I date stamp this. It's year 4, blog 33, or in legacy numbers, it's blog 189, and it's dated the 5th of October 2025. And yes, we're into a new month, and today it's very sunny, but my God, we've had Storm Amy hit UK, and a lot of my friends up north have had a terrible time with wind and so forth. It's been less in the Midlands, but I do feel for them. And just a disclaimer, this is the second time of doing my blog. I've lost over 2.5 hours of blog, and I'm doing it again, and therefore I might find that I'm rushing. You might find that I'm abbreviating things, but my God, 2.5 hours and I lost it all. And now with my sister gone, I have to check on my mum every half hour, so it's going to be a bit of a different type of blog, and I hope you understand that. So I'm just going to rush and basically read out the news. So in the war, we've got Poland scrambles jets as Putin's bombards Western Ukraine with drones and missiles. This comes amid concern that Russia could be behind growing number of recent drone incursions in airspace of Ukraine's European allies. German media reported that drones had been spotted at airports and military installations across Germany on Friday and Saturday. Dozens of flights were diverted or cancelled at Munich airport, highlighting the possibility that Russia is behind the incursions. As you know, I just want the war to end. It sounds absolutely awful. In the UK, therefore, news. The Labour Party conference is all over media reporting this week with the PM's speech under direct scrutiny. Yes, so I dare say we'll have a Conservative conference next week, but basically the PM made a right balls up, I think, last year, saying one word to sausages, and so therefore a lot of media people were saying he better come out with a banger of a speech this year. All that sort of crap. And then, of course, the worst news story is the synagogue bomb attack. It caused major disruption and a shock to everybody on the holy day of Yom Kippur or Kippur. It's basically, I think, where Jews go in front of God to get their sins, and they fast and so forth. Just a bloody awful thing. An assailant with a bomb strapped to him. He was shot dead, as was the assistant that was in a car. They did have to use lethal force, even though they tried to stop the whole thing. But that was heard around the world. I was disgusted by it. To think that this sort of stuff is going on in the UK, atrocious. And then there's just a quick RIP. It's to do with Patrick Murray. He was Mickey Pierce in Del Boy's Only Fools and Horses, which is what my sort of username comes from. He was 68, died of lung cancer. Some of the best episodes were with him, or about, or sort of along with him. He was mentioned in a lot of episodes, even if he wasn't in it. I saw him in films like Scum and Quadrophenia. Such a sad end to a career. He found happiness, I think, in the last 10 years, where he got married, had 2 kids. So he's leaving 2 kids and a wife behind. Just so sad. And I'm sorry if I sped through that very, very quickly, but it lasted actually around about 20 minutes, and I've cut that down to 5. So I do apologise, but there's a hell of the reason for it is I've lost all that recording. Plus, there's a lot of shout outs. There's so many people that have left comments this week. I've got to read them all out again. I can't abbreviate that. I'll try and get the answers out as quickly as possible. But everybody who watches this, I'm in. I just love the fact that you do that. Just before I go ahead, I'll just talk about my week. It's been a okayish week, although my mum's health is still bad. It's a leg. We're going to call the GP tomorrow. We had to call the GP out in the week because she was not very well, and it caused a disruption to my friend Ian Hill, the Ramblings. But we did our recording on Thursday. The good news is I had my cousin from my mum's side come here, and that was absolutely brilliant. And you know, we haven't seen each other in 4 years, and we swapped telephone numbers, and that'll be really great if I can stay in touch with her. Her name's Donna. Brilliant. And like I say, major disruption really with that, but work has sort of like been okay, and you know, things like the breaking down of my PC cause all sorts of problems, like it's happened today. I don't have the money to fix it. It's a 13-year-old machine. I've got to do something about it. I might have to get a loan. I don't know. It's terrible for me. I'm in a bad way when it comes to that. But I'll find some way of doing it. I have a laptop, but it's not particularly great for doing this type of work because everything is attached to this machine. It's so difficult to swap all the wires out and all that sort of stuff. So I've got to fix the machine. It's as simple as that. Shout outs then. So please, a big clap and thank you and applause for these people. Frank Holder, Denny, Wee Bob Art, Rocket Bunny, Down the Rabbit Hole, Ian Hill, The Ramblings, Steve's Gaming Part 2, LFC Gamer and Vlogs, Sandra Clark, Carl Todd, Colin Jones, aka Ponder, Mainmeister, Roberts Retro Gaming, and Martroid. And like I say, I do have to check on my mum. I'm going to be doing that just before I get to the comments. I just want to say sorry that the blog went so badly. It was really good what I did, and I went through a repair tool routine of uploading a huge 1.6 gig file. And what happens? Comes back and the sound stutters and there's lip sync issues and all sorts of stuff. Let's hope this second recording works. I have no idea why it crashed. I haven't looked at the event viewer yet, but there we go. So I'll be back in a second, and then I'll just see my mum, and then I'll be back. Won't be a moment. So you can probably see I'm rushing. You can see I've been to see my mum. I've got a new fresh drink. And I've read out all of the people that I'm doing a shout out for, but I do mean it when I say everybody who watches, thank you so much. And we'll get to the comments. And like I say, sorry if you feel like I'm rushing, but 2.5 hours, my God, think about it, and then doing it again. So here we go. His first one's from Frank Holder, and he says, "Hello, Dowboy. Your last blog made me feel really sympathetic for you and your mother. Your doctor seems like a right ass. The doctor seemed like a right ass. I hope things were better for you this past week. If I can ask a question, do you sell things on eBay or places like it? I do, and I'm trying to sell some of my devices in order to have less clutter around. The past week I sold my Switch 2, a Panasonic MSX, and an Atari 600. I think you might mean Atari 400 or 800, but it could also mean the Amiga 600. I'm not sure, but I'm sure you can enlighten me. So I've made some money from these. I'm trying to get down to 2 to 3 systems at most. I have so much junk around, and boxes of wires, cables and chargers and all sorts of crap. I bet you do too. I hope life gets better for you." And just to answer that question is that I am an eBay seller. I was in the past. My dad used to have a fishing tackle shop, and he had it with a sort of like a syndicate of 4 people. One of them was my uncle. And it lasted several years, but finally we had to sort of like give up the ghost on that, and the stock sort of like went between the syndicate, and a lot of the stock came to us. There was fishing poles, but most of it was fly fishing stuff that my dad's not interested in. So I sold all the G-clamps that you use to tie fishes with, and all the cottons. And all the cottons I still got, but the G-clamps I sold, tenner each. We had over 80 of them, I believe. My dad said keep all the money, but I gave him half. And that meant that my selling sort of profile went up. My star rating went up. So basically I could still sell stuff on there. The difficulty that I've got is that I'm one of those people that I hate buying something, having it in a box and never displaying it. I've got comics, I've got statues. there's so much. But yes, at some point I'm going to have to sell things again and get some money up together, you know, even just to buy a PC. But what about looking after my mum? So yeah, it's a good idea to do all of that, and it's something that I definitely am going to have to consider a little, you know, probably sooner rather than later. So thank you so much for that, Frank. That's absolutely brilliant, and I hope that gives you a sensible answer. And good luck with selling your stuff. On to Denny, my friend Denny. Now, he's put a bloody great big load of text, and some of this is actually mentioned later on, so I will probably cut that out of the later on section, but do understand I've actually know all this already. So it says, hiya mate, I understand you had to call the doctors to your mother on Wednesday. No doubt you'll probably covered this at the start of your blog, which I did, but I hope what was ailing her has passed and she's on the mend. Well, sort of. The leg's not going away. We're going to have to phone the GP tomorrow again. I also hope your health has improved a little this week too. Mine has dipped a little again now that the doctor has put me on statins. That's atorvastatins. I'm on the same things, as my cholesterol is through the roof, making you wonder what's next around the corner. Stay safe, my friend, as I hear a nasty flu strain is doing the rounds at the moment. Very worrying time for people like us with elderly parents. Yes, because colds can turn into pneumonia. Pneumonia is absolutely a killer. So yeah, I'm being very careful of that now that you've informed me. So a little bit to say this week. I hope you can stay with me. A lot of exciting news to tell you, and we'll start with Doctor Who, which is the bit that I'm telling you that I already know. Film is Fabulous are a group that catalogue private film collections. Any missing stuff is returned to the copyright holders. They are now registered as a charity, and I'm seriously consider sending them a donation. Why, you ask? Well, I've been following them closely for quite a while, and they have uncovered some amazing finds. And yesterday I came across one of their replies to a chap called Simon Wood on X. Film, that's Twitter. Film is Fabulous state. We are aware of... Film is Fabulous state this. We are aware of several missing episodes of Doctor Who in private collections in the UK, and we are liaising with the individuals about preserving their entire collection, including the missing Doctor Who episodes, and ensuring they are returned to the BBC. We expect to make a detailed announcement shortly. So it says down here, we're aware of many items in private collections and have offered to catalogue the entire collection for the elderly film collectors. We hope to have more news on early Avengers episodes in the weeks ahead. Yeah, so this is something that you'll hear about later on in the bits where I say what I've watched. But it's been 13 years since we've had new Doctor Who episodes from the old Doctor Who, you know, classic Doctor Who. That was Web of Fear was one of those. And we had something like 11 episodes returned at that one point, and it came out with 2 DVDs, and basically all Doctor Who was wonderful. You know, basically we were loving it. But it's been a long time, and we know that there are people out there that did not want to give their equipment back, their films back, because, well, that one thing possibly that the BBC might prosecute them. They have bought them legitimately, I should think, from other collectors down the line, but basically the person who holds it usually goes to prison. So these people could be elderly and so therefore have passed on. That means that the family have no idea what to do with this stuff. So they're going down the line of Fabulous Films, and I believe they probably got this equipment, these films, because why announce something like this unless they've actually got it in their hands? I mean, it would be a pretty bad thing that it all falls through and you get nothing. So my feelings are they've got it already. So Denny continues, so not only Doctor Who, but Avengers. I take this as concrete confirmation that a deal has already been agreed. No way, and I mean no way, would they make a statement of this magnitude if it was only a hunch or a rumour. Exciting times ahead, and I heard Callan may be among the other recoveries. Yeah, Edward Woodward's Callan, that'd be absolutely fantastic. And the Avengers is obviously Emma Peel and Steed and all of that sort of stuff. There's a lot of black and white stuff that was junked as well. So much junking. So sad to know that stuff's gone. I've come across what is, in my opinion, this is what he continues, the best indie game ever released, called Surrounded. Yes, the name is a play on words. It's a first and third person perspective survival and looting game, very similar to Fallout 4. I like Fallout 4. Graphics similar to Lego. Oh, so a bit like Minecraft. You have to scavenge off the land in buildings and build up a base, filling it with guns, medical supplies, and many, many more elements built into the game. So hard to describe beyond that, so I've sent you a game on Steam as a gift. YouTube has so many videos on it, I'm completely hooked. Early videos, so early access, so he's still developing for it, and the roadmap for the game is massive. I hope it will relieve the stress a little for you. I know you'll love it. Thank you so much for it as a gift. I am blown away when I get a gift, and I don't show it very often, and it's difficult because I'm more a giver than a receiver. You know this means war, of course, don't you? It means something's going to be coming to you. But that leads into the Steam sale that's on at the moment. That finishes tomorrow, and there's a lot of stuff that's 90% off. It's a great time if you're a gamer, if you want to buy and get some stuff that you've considered, but you always thought, ooh, too expensive. But 90% off, that's a bit of a incentive, isn't it? So, yeah. I've bought a game called Astroneer, I think. I think that's what it's called, or Astronautica or something like that. It is a space mining thing. It wasn't 90% off, but it was a big enough drop for me to go, yeah, I want that. So I'm looking forward to going on that. Another bit of good news this week is I'm to get a new works roster starting November. Hopefully this will give me the work-life balance I've been after to enjoy my hobbies again and drop into streams again. Watched another Twilight Zone episode yesterday called The Mirror with Peter Falk. You could see the Columbo in the performance, so amusing. Yeah, I know that episode fairly well. With Peter Falk's glass eye, it's false eye. It's no wonder that every performance he sort of like does look like Columbo. Even when he was in Princess Bride, I thought you could see the Columbo acting in this. But that's not a bad thing. He's magnificent as Columbo. And you carry on, got Night of the Living Dead, Krull on Steelbook, but I will have to wait for Tron and Tron Legacy as the standard versions are a couple of weeks behind, releasing in October. Yeah, I think it's a little bit later on in October. I think about another week. I've got my Steelbooks. They are absolutely lush. Somebody says that there's a problem with Tron Legacy at Chapter 9. I've tested mine, works fine. I don't believe that the person was scaremongering. He did say the player was a Pioneer 820. I've got a Pioneer 820, but I've also got a 9000 over there. Both played perfectly well, but what you have to remember with 820 players is that they revise the motherboard or the electronics through the years, and mine's about 3 years old. So I've got an older firmware that can only go up so far. The newer ones will have newer firmware, and from that, therefore, from that point of view, if you've got a newer 820, possibly be a bit beware on that. But he did say it's also happening on Sony's and so forth. So, yeah, a bit tricky, that one. Now the not so good news. The Blu-ray limited editions of Doctor Who Season 18 and Season 20 has faults on some of the discs. The standard Blu-rays remain unaffected and have been corrected. Email DVD support at bbc.com for further information on sending you the corrected discs. Found that out yesterday too. Yeah, I know nothing about this, matey. Any extra information you can give, brilliant. Question of the week, obvious one really. What missing episodes of Doctor Who would you like to see returned from the film? From the film is fabulous. Quite an easy one really. There is what they considered gold. And that is the fourth episode of The 10th Planet. And that's because William Hartnell finished playing the Doctor and regenerated into Patrick Troughton. That one has been animated, but we'd love to have a proper version, of course. Which leads into the second one I'd like, which is Power of the Daleks, which is the first story of Patrick Troughton's era. Again, it's been animated. It's been animated really well, but we'd love to have the proper of that. I would really, really like that. And of course, Web of Fear is another story that we got back, but the one episode is missing from the middle. Animated again. We would love to have the full story as filmed back in the 60s. So those are the ones that I'd really, really desperately like. Of course, I'd like things like Space Pirates. That's another Patrick Troughton one. And some people are probably screaming and saying, what about William Hartnell? What about William Hartnell? Yeah, I mean, there's the Celestial Toymaker. There is the Romans. There's loads. But Patrick Troughton was one that I really cottoned on to in the early days of Doctor Who for me, where we were only getting VHS tapes and missing episodes were audio only. And I listened to all the Patrick Troughton ones that were audio because of missing video and not released. And I listened to them like a book. Like an audio book, even though it was a recording off of the TV back in the day. The recordings were really quite clear. So I can understand where the BBC have got really good sound recordings of these and can clean them up. So I was listening to all of that. Thought it was brilliant. I think that's my answer to you, Denny. So looking forward, yes, to a chat with you. And I will pass on my best to my mother for you. Now, the next one is from Wee Bob Art, but he says it's in 2 parts, so I'm going to have to scroll down a bit further and read the first part. Yes, here it is, down here. So the first part of Wee Bob Art says, I'm an hour and 44 in and enjoying listening along. That's a weird one, an hour and 44. Why not an hour and 45? 45. It's like exact. I haven't done any videos recently as home life is a bit disrupted again, and the place I was recording in is now occupied most of the time. I've been away, as I mentioned last week, and then had COVID all the week. Back to work tomorrow, though, so it is bedtime for me. A few movies I have seen recently and would recommend when time permits, or to recommend to Ian Hill, is Code Free, a new movie about an ambulance crew comedy with a serious undertone. The Long Walk, I know The Long Walk, I know that new film, yeah, was decent, and I have mentioned it to you before, but The Ballad of Wallace Island, if you haven't seen it yet, is the one I'd suggest. Yeah, The Long Walk, you have mentioned it, and I have looking out for that one. Anyway, I'll try to add another comment later. On the people that are not seeing your notifications, I'm finding that YouTube has turned the bell notification into personalised. When you click on the little bell next to your channel name, below any video that you can change your notification, you set it to all, which means you should receive all video notifications. Also, when you are uploading a video to YouTube, you need to make sure that the box called Notify My Subscribers is ticked. I'm sure you do this, as I get all notifications for you, which would suggest that it's done. Yes, it is done. Anyway, waffled on there. All the best to you and family. Edit, just to clarify, the person subscribed to you needs to click the bell on the Del Boy channel and change their settings. The other setting is for the video creator, which is me. Yes, you never know what other things have been altered because of that, and that might explain a lot of things. So thanks for pointing that out to me, Wee Bob Art. That's brilliant. And of course, you've got a second one up here. He says, okay, Dal, second comment from me with a question only. Other than I hope your mum is feeling better after her issue this week. So the question is, to keep Ian happy, can you give me some unknown movies that Jerry Goldsmith does the score for? Thanks for all the best to you. Yeah, that's an in-joke, because I try to bring Jerry Goldsmith into every live that we do. Now, I get away with it most of the time. I don't think I've missed one. But yeah, there's lots that possibly could fit in here. But of course, who knows what people know, do they? The first one I'm going to mention is a score called Mr. Baseball with Tom Selleck that came out, I think, in the 90s. Yes, it was the 90s. Now, this is a backstory. I had a friend who was also into soundtracks. I bought stuff from him, he bought stuff from me, and as a gift I went to the States, saw that there was a new Jerry Goldsmith score to a film I'd never seen, bought 2 copies, One for me, one for him. Gave it to him as a gift. And it was an atrocious score. Oh, it's awful. I mean, okay, there's baseball themes, that you play at base around the baseball, pitch itself, that always play, Take Me Out to the Ball Game and all of those sort of like songs play at baseball games. But this was an awful score because it's about, I think, a Chinese players trying to play in America, which means it's got a very Chinese influence to it, and it's all synthesized and it's not very good. A very disappointing score from Mr. Goldsmith, who I really, really like. But let me think. Everybody knows, I think, Runaways now, another Tom Selleck film with a Jerry Goldsmith score. But at the same time as that came out, there was this might be not a film, but more of straight to video release. It was called Rent-A-Cop, and it starred Burt Reynolds and Liza Minnelli. It's a great score. Awful, not a great film. Awful score. Great score. Awful. Not a brilliant film. Worth a watch though. It's just that it shows its straight to video sort of like look to it. Rent-A-Cop, I mean, it explains itself really. Burt Reynolds is the Rent-A-Cop. Liza Minnelli, the victim, I think. Then there's a horror film from the 70s called The Other. Now that's a great film and a great score. So I'd definitely recommend that one. One that I saw the other day is called The Salamander. And it's a political film. It was on late at night and I was watching it. And it's one of those films that the score is brilliant and the film is good if you like politics in films, but it's got a great cast. It's got Anthony Quinn and it's got Christopher Lee. And if any film has got Christopher Lee, and I'm sort of like semi-interested in straight away. You're going to get mileage out of the film, I think, if you watch it, but the score, brilliant. And then a film that I didn't get on with, I thought it was pretty unfunny, really. And that's Fierce Creatures, which is the follow-up to A Fish Called Wanda. But I didn't know Jerry Goldsmith did the score for the longest time. I suppose I thought because it's a British film, but obviously with an American international release, I should guess that it could be any composer, couldn't it? But Jerry Goldsmith, is one of my favourite composers. But I've got so many others. In the same breath, I could mention Bernard Herrmann. I could mention Georges Delerue. Let me think. Lalo Schifrin. But and then of course there's the others, isn't there? I mean, James Horner, Hans Zimmer, Alan Silvestri. They're all the old regime. I don't know too much about the new ones. I do buy some new soundtracks, but like they're to films like the new Star Trek films, and films like that. I'm glad that Hans Zimmer is still around. Take it like that. But how could I miss Ennio Morricone? Wow. One of my faves, and my dad's fave for when it came to film scores, because of all the westerns, to be quite honest. So I hope that's answered that question for you. Definitely, I think Ian's fell asleep by now. So we'll go to Rocket Bunny, and I'll read out his. And salute to all the people that I've mentioned so far, that you're all absolutely wonderful. And Rocket Bunny has started off with, "Hi Del, sorry to hear that you've had such a terrible week. I know this one hasn't been much better, but it was good to see you relax a bit in Ian's podcast on Thursday. So a big thank you to Ian. He is a major support for me, and to be quite honest, I don't know how I would manage, to be quite honest, with the week. It sort of like takes me away from all the problems, and a big thank you to him. And please go and subscribe to him. We'll talk more about Ian in a bit. He's bound sure to have written something. So Rocket Bunny continues, "Some good film suggestions in your last blog, thanks. The Art of Racing in the Rain and The Aftermath, they've been noted, added to my Amazon watch list. Both are UHD at a tenner, so we'll watch them when time permits. They are good films, I like them. I think you'll get more out of The Aftermath than The Art of Racing in the Rain, but if you're into Formula One and you don't mind a film like Marley and Me, it's a good film. I'm a bit jealous of your Tron Steelbooks arriving now. I was doing the Steve salute to you when that's the Steve salute. I was doing the Steve salute to you when you showed them. I see they were released earlier than the standard versions due on the 13th of October. Bit scummy using FOMO, that's fear of missing out, to try and people to pay 40% more than the steelbooks, in my view. Yeah, that is a bit bad. And I have to say, I collect the steelbooks anyway. But for anybody else having to wait, yeah, not great. Thanks for answering my question from last week. I have a quick one back if you're out. To you after it. You mentioned you did your own AI remaster of the D&D cartoon. Can I ask, what did you use? I've dabbled with some of the online AI video image tools, but the credit pay models are so expensive. I'm looking for something I can purchase once and play with as much as I like, or at least be a monthly flat fee with unlimited use. To be quite honest, I don't remember that. Rocket, that's me saying that. I remember saying that I've seen a number of D&D AI cartoon upgrades and film upgrades, which I've been disappointed with because they've done the newer ones. It much works better with older ones. And this guy's got technical equipment coming out of his backside. I mean, he's got the software, hasn't he? I've tried to do an AI cartoon from the past. Uploaded it to the internet. It tried to do it and then bring it back. Results were sketchy. And when I was doing it, it wasn't for 4K like this guy. Mine was 1080p. So I don't think I've really got much that I can offer to you, Rocket. And I'm sorry if I gave that impression. I don't remember saying that, you know. I remember seeing lots and lots, like He-Man and that. People try to do that. And it's been sketchy results at best. So that might be what I was referring to. A second question I thought of after your comment in Ian's stream. Do you prefer the original Tron or Tron Legacy? For me, Tron Legacy is similar to Blade Runner 2047. These days, I actually prefer watching the later films on my cinema setup because the quality of the visuals and the music are just so good. It's a treatment of to the directors for both films that they were able to succeed in creating great sequels to two of some of the most iconic films in history. Cheers and take care. And that's an interesting one because I would have said the same as you. Because I've watched Blade Runner and Tron so many times, the later ones I haven't watched half as much. And because they're newer, I've tended to watch them on my new cinema setup. But then along comes Tron. And my God, is that a reference disc. They have done such a marvellous job. They've spent 6 months restoring Tron. So I would have said that I'd probably, like you, watch Tron Legacy. But right now, Tron, every time. Tron Legacy is brilliant. It's got a fantastic score. The visuals are great. It's got the original Flynn back in his role. More about being inside the computer. What's not to love? But Tron, loved it since I was a kid. And this restoration, I can't tell you how lovely this restoration is. It's gorgeous. Definitely Tron with that one. Yes, Blade Runner 2047 over Blade Runner, but just because I've seen Blade Runner so many times. I will go back to Blade Runner, there's no doubt about it, but I'll watch Blade Runner 2047 possibly more incentive to do so than Blade Runner now, just because of how many times I've seen Blade Runner. But I love Blade Runner. It is probably my favourite science fiction film. So thank you, Rocket Bunny, for your comment. And I'll move on to the next one before taking a break and looking at my mum. So we go to Down the Rabbit Hole. Kevin, royalty from Canada. He said, sounds like you've had a heck of a week, Del. Sorry to hear your mum's hospital trip has been such an ordeal. I suppose it's preferable to the alternative. Oh, for definite. Thank you so much. And we are talking not last week, but it was the week before, because these comments are from my last blog. You mentioned when discussing Claudia Cardinal's passing that some actresses are just not in your face. So it makes me wonder if you've heard about Tilly Norwood. She's an AI actress that has Hollywood scared. Yeah, and she has me scared as well. I had to think for a moment when I first did my blog, and I'm doing this for a second time, who this person was. But of course, Tilly Norwood is an AI created sort of like character, a lady. one that likes going to Costa, is a sort of like YouTube influencer and has been in a small film, but totally AI created. And it's scary. I didn't like it one bit. I knew about it because of a magazine called PC World, PC Gamer. They really, put this over the hot coals. And I agreed with the majority of it. That's how I knew about it. I didn't really know about it until I'd read that, because I can get PDFs of magazines, and that's how I read about that. So yeah, I'm all with you on that one, Kevin, and thank you so much for your channel, and I'll be mentioning you a little bit later on. And with that, I'm just going to check my mum, and then I'll be back. Won't be a moment. Right, mum's okay, and I've had to turn my phone's sound back on, so if you hear it ring, it's because it's my cousin Donna phoning me. I'm really looking forward to that call. Don't get too many calls. We've been talking now since she's turned up on Wednesday, so really looking forward to that. But I'm going to continue now, and I'm hoping that I'm not rushing too much. And like I say, I apologise again. 2.5 hours, my God, and I'm shortening this down as briefly as I can. Really, I went into so much elaboration when I did this the first time. So the next one is Ian Hill, The Ramblings. I told you it'd be mentioning, wouldn't he? Wouldn't I? Didn't I? So hi Del Boy, hope you and your mum are doing okay. I know things haven't been good with your mum having to go to hospital. It seems things haven't changed with getting ambulances and taxis. Had the same problem when I was a full-time carer for my wife. I do not have a car, I cannot drive, and at certain times I know it would have been useful. I always travelled by train to Leicester when I worked. This suited me fine, as I do love trains. Yeah, I just want to explain something, that when I was talking about the ambulances last week, because I even had a family member comment, is that it's the idiot this of it all is what I'm trying to get at. The GP arranged for an ambulance to pick up my mum because she's immobile. So if they turn up late, or even if they turned up at the time, my expectation is she's immobile, so she needs equipment to get her back in the house. Now, it's 2:00 in the morning, so I do understand it, but the ambulance crew mentioned to me that if they saw that she was vulnerable, they may change their stance on things, but they didn't. That's what I'm trying to get at. I had to get a taxi. I had to get her back home. I had to get the taxi driver to help me get my mum out of the back seat, and then I had to try and get her into bed at 2:30 in the morning. It's ridiculous. And the ambulance crew gave me hope that would be okay. They couldn't guarantee it. Just look at the last blog. But that was the reason of the rant that I gave. And, I didn't really need reminding, they don't have a policy for that. It's about the fact that she's registered immobile. There's the answer. So anyway, if that didn't come across properly. My week started off not too good. The pain I was suffering was intense. However, when the nurse came on Tuesday, she was able to help relieve it. Today, Friday, I've had another visit from the nurse. Seems a good idea at the moment. However, if things improve, I suspect that they will put it back to just a Tuesday, and I hope they don't do that. If you need the help on 2 days, 2 days, even though you can get better, you deteriorate again. It's degenerative. We have to understand these things. Enjoyed our live, which was on Thursday this week. It felt good to escape and was just what I needed. I think we had a good laugh too, and I know it's much needed escape for you. So right now, a big thank you to anybody that turned up on Thursday, and apologies for Wednesday. It is an escape for me. Ian is one of my biggest supporters. I don't know what I'd be like without him, to be quite honest. Long may that continue. We had a laugh. We had a bang of a time. Go and watch that video. In fact, while you're over there, go and subscribe. Ian Hill, The Ramblings. What a guy. And what a fun video it was to make of that. It was absolutely fantastic. As usual, watched more films this week. The worst one was Moby Dick, starring Gregory Peck. A good actor, but totally miscast in this. It was dull, a chase film. Should have been exciting. This wasn't. I picked a Blu-ray up for £2 of Terminator Salvation 2009. It's not rated highly. There's no Arnie. However, I really enjoyed it. The first two in this series are classics. This, the fourth one, has Christian Bale in the lead role. He was good. It looked and sounded great. You can get some bargains out there, fellas. And yeah, you can listen to people saying about Terminator being shit and all of that sort of stuff. But you can get some popcorn enjoyment out of it. Absolutely. And when it comes to Moby Dick, what a shame. I've read the book. It's referenced in so many films, even in Star Trek. You know, it was in, Star Trek First Contact. But yeah, such a shame. So the highlight for me, this is from Ian, was Street Corner, a 1953 film starring Peggy Cummins. Had seen her in Hell Drivers, which we both know of, Ian, 1958. The film had a semi-documentary style and told the story of police women. They did face a lot of prejudice from men who thought that they were not up to the job. It was great insightful into post-war Britain. Yeah, we have to remember that post-war Britain was all rebuild, and women in jobs. Must have been terrible for them. The locations were great to see. There was still a lot of poverty and children brought up in difficult conditions. They had to act like social workers. I do love watching these kind of films. My question this week is, do you think social media has created a society where lies are being manipulated to make people think that they are facts? Is society becoming more like Orwell described in 1984? And my answer to that is absolutely. So many videos I've seen that have got bad facts and they make it out like it's the absolute truth. Some of these are like Doctor Who ones. They were turning around, I think, saying this week that the last Doctor that resigned was actually forced out, and he's been banished and told that he'll never be in another Doctor Who again. I seriously think of that as rumour turned into fact. And it's like many YouTube videos that I've seen like that. Pinch of salt stuff. Don't bother listening to it. Waste of time. Clickbait. All my best wishes to you, and have a reet grand time. Reet grand time. I'm getting better at saying that. It's nearly in my language now to say reet, not right. But there we go. No right way to say it. There's a reet way to say it. That's a terrible joke. Salute, my friend. Greatest supporter of me. Thank you so much. I really do mean it. You are a breath of fresh air for me midweek, and long may it continue. What are we up to? 78 live streams. Wow. We moved to my friend Steve's Gaming, and I have to do my salute. You know, shit. You know, it's the law. I have to do that. Everybody knows this. But what a friend. He is one of the closest friends, and one of the people that I've told, what my recent illness is. Don't want people to get too worried. I am losing weight. It's all to do with it, but it's also stress and a number of other things. Please don't worry about it. Concentrate on my mum. That's the best thing. You can see, I think, hopefully in my face, unlike before where I was nearly falling asleep, that I'm a bit more chipper. And this is the second time of doing 2.5 hours. And do I look like I'm going to fall asleep? Not at the moment, but you might do by the end. Who knows? But Steve's put this, and he's a great guy, by the way. He's got a channel as well. Go and subscribe to that. He's put, "Hello, Del. Great blog as usual. I'm sorry to hear about your mum's problems. I hope this week was a bit less stressful for you both. As for you, my friend, I'm also quite concerned about your health, and I hope you are finding some time for yourself to relax and de-stress." He didn't know about my illness, really, until I told him later on. He's a little bit more aware now. The hospital ambulance doctors seem to be making your stress a lot worse, and I hope things in that respect have got better for you both. Okay, on with the question. Now, I know the questions, so I'll just give you the quick answers to these. Apologies, Steve. But question one was, what was the best and worst board games you've ever played? Worst, Mousetrap. Easy answer. I never used to have too many board games because I didn't have too many friends. I lived in a house in my first 8 years where it was mostly girls. There were very few sons in the street, so I only had female company to play with. And when we did move to this house, the video game market was suddenly here. Video, the Atari VCS, the 2600 and all of that was coming in. So board games started to become less because you could play single player. And when it comes to board games, bought less and less of them. But I did have Kaplunk and Buckaroo and Mousetrap, Risk, Monopoly, all of those, Operation, the Mad Doctor's Game. But I was starting to get things like Merlin, Simon, the Game of Simon, all electronic, Astro Wars, all of that sort of stuff. And therefore, the worst game was Mousetrap. I mean, as a child of under 8 years old, building that damn thing, it was a hit and miss thing, or if I got it to work, miracle. I took it to school once during a playtime thing, and by the time you'd built it, it was time to do the lessons again. It was absolutely atrocious. Risk, though, later on I played Risk. Wow, loved that game. I like war maps, all of that sort of stuff. Had these weird little coggy type pieces. Brilliant. Played it to death. But I loved Monopoly, as long as you didn't cheat. And I've even played electronic versions of Monopoly because I liked it so much. I haven't been so enamoured to buy recent Monopolies because they're all clickbait with their pay this, pay that type things. Nah. Play it on your phone, all of that sort of stuff. No. But as a board game, I loved Monopoly. So question 2, what one arcade game should have had an 8-bit computer port but never did? I can't remember what I said. What did I say? Yes, I think I lambasted over Major Havoc, which was a vector game, which I think would really work on the Vectrex really well, which is, an early console system. Might not work on the Commodore 64, but I can imagine that working on a Spectrum or a BBC Micro with line drawing commands. That I'd have liked to have seen. I liked Major Havoc. I did play that in the arcades. I think on a console, Golden Axe, the last one that they did, and I think it's called Attack on Death Adder, or was it Revenge of Death Adder? It used Outrun's sort of like sprite scaling thing, so it probably wouldn't work as a Commodore 64 game or a Spectrum or whatever, even though we've seen Outrun and Space Harrier on those. But Golden Axe was done on the Commodore 64, so maybe it would. But there's a lot of Capcom games that didn't get done because there was, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. We saw Street Fighter 2. It was atrocious. See what I mean? Later Capcom games probably wouldn't work. But I'll tell you one that might. Willow. Now, Willow is an unusual one. I've never seen it in the arcades, but I've played it on MAME. And it's a platformy run and gun type thing based on the film. That, I think, would work. And that would work well on the Commodore 64. Then there's a game I think I've seen you play, Steve, and I don't think it's a home port of it. I might be wrong. Zookeeper. It's where you trap animals in the centre of the screen and you go around the outside and you fill in bricks. You have to fill in the bricks and they get tighter and tighter, but the trouble is other things are knocking those bricks away. It's a very early arcade game. I don't remember seeing that on the Commodore 64, Spectrum, Amstrad, all of those, PC Engines, Oryx, even in televisions, Atari VCSs. I don't think they got Zookeeper. I could be wrong. Tell me in the comments. But I'd like to have seen Zookeeper. And this is just personal to me. I bought the Mr. Do's on the home computers and on the consoles. And I don't remember seeing on the Commodore 64, which was my machine at the time, Mr. Do's Wild Ride. Now, there was a version that was like it, and that was Kong Strikes Back, but it was not Mr. Do. And I'd bought Mr. Do on the Commodore 64, and so I really wanted Mr. Do's Wild Ride. What we got in Kong Strikes Back is okay. Tune is lovely in that game. I'm humming it now in my head. But it wasn't Mr. Do's Wild Ride. and I'd have liked to have seen that. So I think that we'll end that one there. I think I've given you some answers. And question 3, who do you want to be champion in Formula One this year? I would love it to be Oscar Piastri, and I'd hate it to be Lando Norris. All the best, my friend, and give my love to your mum, and you know I will. But when it comes to Formula One, I actually wouldn't mind if Norris won or Piastri, to be quite honest. I don't have a preference between the two. I like them both, which is unusual because they're both in the same team, so you can only have one. As long as it's not Verstappen. I don't think George Russell deserves it this year. I don't think McLaren deserve it this year. Who knows what's going to happen? I haven't seen the race today. I've missed it. I'm going to have to watch the recap later on tonight. And I don't think Leclerc's got a hoping chance, and that means that Hamilton is below him. So Hamilton won't have a chance. I will say that I'd like Hamilton to win again at some point. I'd like him to beat the records of Schumacher, just purely because I like it when records are broken. Schumacher, to me, was a bit of a hero. Didn't like it when they had their spat with Hill. What's happened to him is such a shame, Schumacher. But records are there to be broken. They've been there for a long time. I don't want things to go to the point where I'm an old age pensioner before records of this type are broken again. I don't really like Verstappen, to be quite honest, as a personality. I don't think he's a great influencer on kids. I think even Hamilton was more, and that's saying something because he's very political. But yeah, I might be doing him a disservice, but I just don't. I have a dislike for Verstappen. How he got his first world championship in Formula One was wrong as well. I look at that and think that was ridiculous. No chance. And such an end really to that particular year of Formula One. I might be in a minority with that, but that's how I feel. I hope I've given you enough of an answer there, Steve. And we will just check on my mum, and then I'll be back because I know the next one isn't a huge one for me to read out. So just bear with me. Okay, so hopefully everything's going okay and no more video problems. But we're going to be moving on now to the next comment, and it's from LFC Gamer and Vlogs, and I knew it was quite lengthy. So I needed to check on my mum. She's got a cup of tea. So what does LFC Gamer and Vlog say? It says, greetings again, Del, my good man. Great blog, and as always, sending you and your mum best wishes. This might just be a hunch, and most likely I'm incorrect, but does your mum suffer from arthritis? Just a thought, because of her leg pains. No one wants to see a family member in distress. The reason why I brought this up is because arthritis runs through my family, and I know the struggle that my mum has and my late grandmother. If I'm wrong about it, I do apologise. All the same, I hope she gets better soon, and nothing to apologise for, to just a suggestion. What I will say to you is this. I don't know if arthritis runs in my mum's side of things because she was adopted. I only knew my mum's mum. She died when I was like 6 or 7, so she's like a picture with Vaseline over it. She's like a distant memory. I've got arthritis in the leg for some totally different reasons, so it's not like it runs in the family. So I would have to turn around and say, no, I don't think she does. But the leg doctor looked at it and he didn't mention that. He mentioned things like the fatty tissues that are around the knee that protect it are degenerating, and the knee joint, the bones are narrowing. It's a combination of those two things. But there we go. We really don't know. We won't know much more until my sister phones the GP tomorrow. You continue, if you're not seeing my content from me in the last few weeks, that's mainly down to me losing some of the spark on YouTube, as well as seeing an unpleasant side that I want to steer clear from. I will explain further in a future video. To say it's pissed me off is an understatement, not to mention the views on my channel have dropped significantly, regardless if I upload or don't, and my sub count has stayed the same number for almost 2 months. I normally don't pay much attention to that sort of stuff, but it's disheartening when you're Lucky to get more than 2 comments on a single video. People have busy lives and commitments must come first. I've been working non-stop and can only sympathise. However, I sometimes get the impression that people have just lost interest in watching me due to a lack of feedback. I could be looking too deeply into this, but when things aren't as they seem, you can't help but think of these scenarios. And this is what I've been banging on about for, early part of this year. You get disheartened because you spend 2.5 hours doing something like this, and then you get nothing back, or very few views or dislikes you get as well, and all that sort of stuff. What is it that they don't like? What is it that's keeping them away and not watching anymore? You have all those things going through your head. There's so many people as well that have told me that they love YouTube, they do it for fun. They left, they came back, they got a leg up from somewhere, and I'm sure people, they won't mind me mentioning. Robert will tell you from Robert's Retro Gaming. He did an apology video. It came at a time where an apology video was thought to be something else that was going on in the world. He got 1,000 views, and a lot of those turned into subscribers, and it's like that was the steamroller moment that kept things going for him. I haven't had that. I dare say you haven't. And I've heard other stories, where people liked your channel so much that they mentioned it. All of those subscribers then went and looked, and they got a shitload of subscribers. It all seems to be down to luck. I've tried everything. I've changed my tact. I've done higher quality videos, lower, gone back to the way things were, changed things up in my blog, done different views, added things into it, took stuff away. All that sort of stuff makes no difference. And it's disheartening. I wish we both could get what we want in life. We will see. Maybe other people will start mentioning this. Me, you, whatever. If it doesn't, it's fun. I'll still do it. It's just that, I think for the effort that we put in, it'd be nice to be represented a bit more. YouTube don't care. So there you are. You continue. Due to recent events with YouTube getting me down, I decided to cheer myself up by creating my own playlist full of my favourite TV show and cartoon themes. While a large majority are from stuff I loved, there's a few from programmes that didn't appeal to me, but always like the tune regardless. If you want to have a look, by all means do. A lot of stuff from my generation of the 90s and the early 2000s, and oh my god, man, if you'd have looked at my blogs, you'd have seen I've done that. Go and have a little look. You'll see I've got a playlist. It's full of soundtracks, full of TV themes, all of that sort of stuff. It's almost like you thought of it, but you might have had a pinch of inspiration from me if you saw it from me, but maybe you thought of it as well, just at different times. I haven't added to mine for a few weeks. I need to do that, but it's a great idea. It gives people the impression of what you like. You never know who else might see it, like it, etc. So mine's an open playlist. Yours is an open playlist. Please, guys, go and have a little look at that. If you're ever into your music, if you want to reminisce about TV themes, all that sort of stuff, or you just want to know more about LFC Gamer and Vlog's personal preference on things, go and have a look. So here's my question for Sunday. You continue. Is there a particular word you think is overused and is often used by the wrong context? The one that screams to me is more than any other is literally. Yeah. I'm terrible at thinking about what the word actually is, but I've been here already and answered this in my first part of my blog. The word that I've got is whatever. I hate it in an argument when something and they go, whatever. You got nowhere to go. But the word that annoys me is actually. I actually did this. I actually did that. I actually said this. Where, there's ambiguity about it all. Too overused. Awful word, really, actually. I try to not have it, but obviously it can slip in. We're all human. Can't say any more than that. But language is weird. Wertherby this week was talking about gaming. And he turned around and said he used to be on playing games with people that were all over the internet, and there was this word called lit. Oh, you're well lit, man. Oh, you really lit him, and all of this sort of stuff. What the hell, lit? What's that all about? Lit. Oh. And when you're looking at fix-it videos, solid is used a lot. Oh, that's solid, that is. That's solid solder. That's what? Solid? Oh, yeah. Honestly, if I hear it once more, it drives me nuts. Here's your second question, probably equally as hard. What is your top 5 favourite Martin Scorsese films? Oh, you get. Now, you know Martin Scorsese. I've got so much collectability films from him. What's he done? Cape Fear, Avatar, Gangs of New York. But I mean, I'm going to mention 6 really that I watch over and over again. They are Raging Bull, Goodfellas, Casino, Irishman, Mean Streets, and After Hours. Now, I did a bigger recap on those the first time I did this, and apologies I don't have that time at the moment. We're already an hour in, and it was 2.5 hours before, so you can imagine I'm trying to cut the time down a little bit. But those films, what can I say about them? I mean, Goodfellas speaks for itself. Casino, much better than, is a better film than Goodfellas, but for different reasons. Raging Bull, boxing. I have to watch that. Irishman got such a panning really because of the technical ability to de-age someone, but it didn't distract me. I loved it. Thought it was great. Mean Streets I saw in a watch along, but I remembered then watching it the first time round. Made me go out and buy it again. And After Hours is just one of those films that I've forgotten that I watched in the 80s. Saw it on VHS. And never bought it on DVD or Blu-ray. It came out on 4K. I instantly went out and got it, and I had to buy it from America, only to find out then it was released in the UK. So that was a bit of a kerfuffle, wasn't it? To put Maymeister words in me. So, yeah. All of those are great. And the last one, this one made me smile when I first read it. It said, who would you support if Coventry didn't exist? I thought, what if the city didn't exist as well as the club? But anyway, would it be the same club as your dad or another team entirely? And I had to answer it easily, instantly here. It would be the same as my dad's. And my dad's was Aston Villa because his dad was an Aston Villa supporter. And you got to remember, my dad was really into his football. And we're talking my dad being born in the 40s. So in the 60s, just think of the players that would have been playing for Aston Villa then. All legends. All people as well, probably, that were, when they finished playing football, went and did jobs as plumbers and carpenters and stuff. Because that's what it was. It wasn't all money back then. And, yeah, it would have been Aston Villa, because the only other option I had when I was choosing a football team was it had to be local, sort of local to us. I was given the option of Oxford or Coventry, and I've mentioned this before. Oxford is yellow and Coventry are blue. I love blue, so me and got blue shirt on. So yeah, Coventry it was, and the rest is history. But my dad wasn't in a big favour of you living in the Midlands and supporting a team like Manchester United or Manchester City or any, up north sort of like team, or team like Tottenham and that south, because we're never likely to go as a father and son to see the games unless they were playing a Midlands team. So yeah, ended up being Coventry. But I'll read out what you put next. When I was a kid, even though I'm Liverpool through and through, my younger self had a bit of a soft spot for Aston Villa, as they were the team one of my cousins supported. This was back when John Gregory was their manager, yeah, and I remember him, with players such as Dion Dublin, who you know far too well, yeah, I do, Gareth Barry, Darius Vessel, Lee Hendry, and the former Arsenal great Paul Merson. Yeah, Paul Merson, we don't hear too much about him anymore. Shame. But yeah, it would have been Aston Villa because of my dad. Instant answer. Very, very simple. Thank you so much, LFC. If you haven't subscribed to LFC or had a look at his videos, please go and have a little look. We're all trying to do our best for you, trying to have fun. You know, it really helps the algorithm and all of that sort of stuff. But I think it'd appreciate you just being around and giving a comment. Be really good. But we move on now to Sandra Clark, and Sandra Clark is someone that I've been seeing in Ian's stream and in Maymeister's stream, and she comes here regularly and has a little bit of a comment, and she's put, "Hello Del Boy, I watched your latest video and my comment wasn't read. I know you're a good person, and I can I can think that my comment was removed, like Denny's too ? And it's quite right. Yours one was removed, Denny's was removed, Steve's was removed. It wasn't just you, Sandra, and the only thing that I could do was give you the recommendation that I gave you in text, which was, yes, sorry Sandra, I always read out the comments and it was not there. Several seem to have got removed. I suggest putting a placeholder like others. It's my only advice. And what I mean by a placeholder is you go into the comments, you type placeholder or to be continued or whatever fun thing you want to put, and then you come back after 24 hours and you write your text. And when you're writing your text, try thinking of writing it in Notepad and then pasting it. You never know, that might help. Those are the sort of things. YouTube don't care. In the early days, I went to them and said, why are my stuff being removed? Never got an answer, not a peep out of them. So apologies, but that's my suggestions. So salute to you, Sandra, and to all the others that I haven't put salute to. I do apologise. I did do that with all the others. And we'll move to Carl Todd. What does Carl Todd say? He says, "Hi Del, I was saddened to hear about issues that you had last week. I'd sincerely hope that this week has been a lot better. I know that you need to take good care of your mum, but also please take good care of yourself too. It was another busy week for me that seemed to fly by. Let's jump into some questions. I was surprised to see adverts for a new 4K set of New Avengers, and I was equally surprised that I didn't see much chatter about that release either. Is this a show that you liked?" It damn well is. I did explain the first time around that none of you guys have seen, that I'm so glad that there are 4K sets of TV coming out, first of all. Secondly, this seems to be a follow-on from the Sweeney, which is absolutely brilliant as well. And the other thing is that the New Avengers and the other show that sort of like was very close to it was Return of the Saint with Ian Ogilvy. But when it came to the New Avengers, my sister sort of like really bonded with Purdy. So there were 3 people in it. There was Steed, there was Gareth Hunt's character, and there was Purdy, my Joanna Lumley. My sister loved her haircut, sort of like a sort of like bowl cut type thing, but she drove around in a TR7, and even I loved that TR7 till sort of like in the playground when people were talking about cars, and as kiddies when we were about 7 or 8 or 9, we were all talking about Escort Mark IIs and Vauxhall Astras and things like that. If I mentioned a TR7, they'd say that's a girl's car. But I always liked the sleekness of the front and the sort of boxy behind. I heard later on that they broke down on motorways a lot. I don't know whether that was at the time true or not. I found out later on they weren't very reliable, but it weren't just motorways they broke down on. But that's what I was told. So I sort of fell out of the TR7 a couple of years later. And it's funny how people look at things as feminist or masculine. Weird that, like Audi TTs is a hairdresser's car, so is an MX-5, all of that sort of stuff. If you like a car, you like it. I always wanted an Audi TT. In fact, my friend had one. Kelly, he had an Audi TT. I'd have loved it. But it was a sports car and it was expensive and the insurance would have been high and fuel consumption and all of that came into play when I was looking for an Audi. So I'm glad I got my A3, to be quite honest. So I'm not surprised it's not really being talked about because it is an oldish show. But I am happy that it's there, and I definitely will be talking about it, and I will probably pre-order that. Yeah, quite a few episodes, So that'd be nice. You then continue as a collector. I know that you will try to get items to fill in gaps in your collection. This can mean that you end up buying things you don't like so much because it's part of a set. And there may be some gaps that you have trouble filling because you missed a release. So thinking of your collection, what is the worst item that you admit to buying? And what items are those holy grail items you want, you either can't find or the price is prohibitive? Bit of a loaded question there. Just to go back to the beginning. Yeah, I've bought stuff that's got ones that I'd rather not buy, but because I want the set, I do. Friday the 13th comes to mind, and A Nightmare on Elm Street, to be quite honest. I don't think anybody will diss me, I think, for saying that certain Friday the 13th films, as they got a bit further on, were not like the early days. And therefore, you're less likely to want them, but you get them anyway. I mean, okay, here's a perfect example. The Exorcist, right? Just recently, The Exorcist came out and it was a phenomenon sale. Then they came out with Exorcist 2 and 3 to buy. And 2 is the worst film, as I consider, in history. In history. Awful film. Never understood it. Bloody awful. Right? It's got Richard Burton in it. My God. And Exorcist 3 was more a return to form. But if you've got Exorcist 3 and you've got Exorcist 1, you're in a dilemma. Oh, I've got to buy Exorcist 2, ain't I? Or you're not that sort of collector and you just buy 1 and 3. It's up to you. But, you know, I didn't like, I will say now, I didn't like Friday the 13th Part 8. And when it comes to, say, something like Nightmare on Elm Street, I didn't like the second one much. But they come in a box set, great. Don't have to worry about it. But if you buy them individually, and then they come out as a box set, you tend to find you don't buy the box set. You'll just keep what you've got, especially as it's the same versions. And I can't stand not having a gap. It goes Nightmare on Elm Street 1, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, 4, 5. Hang on, what happened to 2? It's like that. So, yeah, I bought stuff like that. All the best to you and your mum, you say, and thank you very much, Carl Todd. What a fantastic guy you are. And everybody that's watching. Thank you so much. Brilliant. And we'll move to Colin Jones, aka Pondo, who's got a great channel as well. Please have a look at some of these people's own channels. Colin's got 2, and he does a blog on one, and he does sort of like more technical gamey type things on the other. But I tell you what, his biking adventure, brilliant. The amount of idiots on the road, my God, it's sort of like addictive watching, really. His blog's great. Bit technical sometimes in places, but if you're that technically minded, you tend to find that there's some good stuff there. Definitely worth a shout. So Colin has written down, what a complete farce with the ambulance and hospital. The one good thing is that came from it is, she's not in any immediate danger. Sending my regards as always, and I hope you get the pain sorted out, and we hope so too. Good to hear you and your sister were on the same page though through all of this. Also good that work was so understanding. I'm sure that's a great help mentally, and it was. People are downvoting these videos, I think. If you're not open for everything, don't watch. Simply no need for negativity at all. And what he's talking about there is that little comment I made about thumbs down and all that sort of stuff. There are people out there that have the mentality to sort of like go into your list and just down everything, and you not even watch it. You can just click on the down. And it's sad that people do that. I've never done that. Even with people that I fell out with, I just don't watch them. And that's, I think, is the best mentality. If I watch something and I don't like it, I leave it blank. If I watch it and I like it, I thumbs up it. It's as simple as that. And I leave a comment if there's something that I want clarity on, or I want to impart a little bit of knowledge on. Going down and thumbing down. I know that there's a few people that have been turning around and saying this is happening to them. Friends old and new. And I all I can say to them is stop. Even the people, that I used to get on with, don't do that to them. That's all I can say, really. It's ridiculous. Very good answer to the arcade cabs. I tried my best, I have to say. 2 questions. I missed one. I did answer the one but didn't see the other. But you found it. I'll answer it in the next vlog or maybe sooner. And you did. And I thumbed up that video. It was your drones outtakes. And I thumbed it up and I made a comment that turned around and said, that's the most times anybody's mentioned my name, my channel. Thank you so much. Maybe it'll do me some good. Who knows? Maybe that's the reason why I got more comments this week. Maybe it's because of my mum. Whichever it is, my mum deserves it. That's all I can say. We're all going through a bad time. I'm going through a bad time. My mum is important. That's the thing. And I do have conversations with my mum. I've got very little to talk to or who to talk to as well. Talking to my mum is great. She won't remember the next day. But because it's short term that she's more sketchy on. Long term, she remembers. So, yeah, I do have conversations about my life on YouTube. You continue my question. What is the worst email client you've ever encountered? Not necessarily used, but maybe just had the misfortune to have someone regularly send you mail from this worst ever email client. And I have to separate the thing here about email clients and email provider. Email provider is easy, and that is Yahoo and AOL. My first talk with AOL and their inbuilt email program was atrocious. Yahoo, I got hacked, and because they're in America and they've got no British arm, I could do very little. Client, I've only ever used Outlook. It's clunky, it's horrible. It's used at work. I haven't used many other email clients, I have to turn around and say, other than what's on my phone. So there's a Samsung email client. But I can't say which is the worst or who's been sending from what. So I can only tell you really the providers, and that's Yahoo and AOL. They were atrocious. You got mail. Yeah, that's about the best thing in it. Can you read it? No, there's a problem. Anyway, thank you. Salute, my friend. Please go and watch my friend Colin. Brilliant. We get to Mainmeister again. Equally, I'd like you to subscribe to if you can. Content from 14 years. My God. But he just mentioned one word, Tracy Lords. I had no idea what that meant, Tracy Lords, other than who Tracy Lords is. So I had to answer him and say, no idea what that means, other than the history of that name. And he came back with an answer saying, you spoke about a film with a porn actress in, and you couldn't remember the name. I think I was talking about the name of the film, not the porn actress. But it might be both. The film would have been Not of This Earth by Roger Corman. And that does contain Tracy Lords. Tracy Lords has been in a number of other films as well. But Tracy Lords is synonymous with porn, yeah. She nearly brought the porn industry down to its knees. Because she was underage and she had been performing with, of age actors, and she fooled everybody. And she even worked, in lesbian scenes and so forth. And so got a lot of people into a lot of trouble and a court case. So, yeah. Tracy Lords, who knew, eh? You now know a little bit more. Not that you probably wanted to. So moving on to absolute Canadian royalty, I must salute to Mainmeister, and he's on holiday at the moment. I hope he has a fantastic time. He's over in America, so I'm dead jealous. We get to Robert's Retro Gaming, Canadian royalty, Atari King. He's put, so my problem now is that I've left the placeholder too long and I finished watching your video on Sunday last week. I continue to hope that your driver's license situation gets sorted out quickly. I hope you can find a way to make things better with your sister. I'm glad your employers seem to be reasonably understanding, and I thank you for the kind words as always. And I'm looking forward to listening and watching you tomorrow. And if I can get this blog done, you will. Bloody hell, this is the second time of doing it, as I said, so apologies, it's going to be out late, and I've got to do a picture of me yet, and all of the indents and all that sort of stuff. So, my God, we're nearly about halfway through, I think. So, yeah, what a channel. Done some great stuff. All Atari, mostly Atari related, but not just Atari related. He did this even this week. He did SNES and Commodore 64 and Spectrum. Great stuff. But it's just that there's something there every day. That's the thing, and that's why I like it so much. I know I'm guaranteed when I wake up in the morning at 6:30, and before I've even gotten out of bed, there's a video there later on for me to watch in the morning. And that's exactly what I do. So thank you so much for your content, and you have a wonderful channel, and I hope other people discover the wonders of Robert's Retro Gaming. So moving on, we get to Martroid, and his is very, very simple and just says, sorry to hear it's been another tough week, Del, but you made it through, and that's something to be proud of. You're a legend in my book. Well done, mate. Thank you so much. It really is nice to hear such kind words. I'm a legend. I wouldn't say legend, but I try my hardest for everybody. You know, my mum, family. It's just whether they see it. That's the thing. And believe it or not, because we've already rang out Wee Bob Art, who was at the bottom, that's the lot. That's the comments. Absolutely marvellous. So I think I'll just take another little break, check on my mum, and then we can get to the watched on YouTube. Now, I got to here at 2 hours and 10 minutes. It's now at 1 hour 21, so I've cut 40 minutes out. So I'm going along, and I'll be back in a moment. Thanks very much for your patience. So, I've just got back. My mum's okay. She's got another cup of tea. And we've got through all of the comments. Salute to all of those. And to everybody that's watching. Thank you. And we get to what I've watched on YouTube. So, we're in the final stages. Now, anybody that's ever watched this knows that I separate this into 3 parts. Watched on YouTube is the first one. And there are 4 that I watch religiously every week. And they are This Week in Retro, Tech Moan, Gadget Show, and Chronologically Gaming. Now, they all were interesting this week. Not the best, you know. Like, everything in it was absolutely fantastic. But incredibly good. This Week in Retro, I was honestly looking to and listening out to see whether my friends got mentioned, because they went to the cave last week. But the subjects this week were Pies in my eyes, Prince of Persia Speaks, and Groodness Me. And they were all interesting subjects, don't get me wrong. You know, Pies in My Eyes is obviously about the Pi 5, if you know your technology. The rest speak for themselves, I think, a little bit as well. All very interesting. I watch it at 10 o'clock on a Saturday without fail, along with the next one, Tech Moan. Now, this one was called Bring That Beat Back, the Panasonic SY-PA100 Repair Continued. And I like this one as well because a couple of weeks ago, or last week, he did a review of this Panasonic. And what the problem was that it was broken. So he ordered another one in a hope that he could interchange the parts, but it didn't fix the issue. So he's got 2 of them. But he found out what was wrong from the community. This is how the community works. This is why I like it. He repaired it, and he's not a soldering person. He's soldered before, but is not a person that is confident with soldering. And he made lots of mistakes, and he showed those mistakes, but he fixed it and got it working. You can learn a lot from these videos, and anybody that might have an interest in, say, doing a little bit of electronics because they've got old computers and they need to recap it and all of that sort of stuff, watch a video like this, because it gives you the confidence to try it yourself. You know, soldering irons are now pretty cheap. Desoldering irons a bit more expensive. All the fumigation and all of that sort of stuff, solder, flux, wick, all of that sort of stuff can be expensive. But if you want to get it into a small way, like buying a small electronics kit with a breadboard, so you can learn out how series works, you know, light in series, and so how your Christmas lights work, in other words, things like that. Brilliant. So Tech Main was great. Gadget Show was a lot bigger this week. So there was 2 videos here. Could we build another Battlefield sim was one. The other one was iPhone 17 launch, the Samsung XR glasses, and the next gen action cams. I preferred the second one to the first one. The first one was more questions and answers, and the Battlefield sim they were talking about was an old Gadget Show where they turned the game Battlefield and tried to recreate it real, like a laser tag thing. Quite a fun episode, actually, because I remember it when it was on, I think it was on Channel 4, not Channel 5 where it ended up. So that was good. I like that. And Chronologically Gaming is still at 1982. He's going to be there for a while. We're up to River Raid and some arcade and other computer games. And he did pose the question, are you happy? Would you like more? For which I'm going to leave a comment. Yeah, I want more. He used to do these. He used to do 2 or 3 a week. And that many was getting through. But I really want him to get to 1983 because that's where the computers exploded in the UK. Games came out in their thousands from that moment on. And I'm not wrong with that figure. There are literally, I think there are like 10,000 or so titles alone between the Commodore 64 and Spectrum and those mostly came out in the 80s. So it's going to be an explosion for him. How he's going to get through them, I don't know. But anyway, those are the 4 titles. Then we get to the one that Denny was talking about, and the one I watched was called The Confused Adipose, and it was called Missing Doctor Who Episodes Recovered, funnily enough. So just listen back. That's all about that. Then there was another channel called Little Car. Don't know what that's all about, but the episode was called The Brilliant Failure, Atari 400/800 story. And it was a great video, but I don't like the thinking that the Atari 400 and 800 were failures. If you make a machine, it comes off the draft board, it gets manufactured, goes out to market, and is off the market within 6, 7, 8, 9 months or even 12 months. Yeah, failure, right? The Atari's 400 and 800 was not that. Came out in, 78, 79. Was still people writing games for it in 1989, but its heydays were up to 84. That's 5 or 6 years. That's not a failure. It was expensive. They lost money. So from Atari's point of view, it would be a money loss, but it's not a failure. There are people out there that still love their Ataris. Look, Robert Retro Gaming. It had some fantastic ideas. A cheaper version with a keyboard, much like I think the Intellivision, and a membrane, so that if you spilt your drink over it, wouldn't happen. And it was aimed at the kids, so it was a gaming console type thing, with a keyboard for them to do simple little programs. And you had the Big Brother, the Travelator keyboard, and everything. Yeah, it wasn't a failure. I don't agree with the word failure in this instance. Disappointment, possibly. Anyway, I then watched Drive Tribe. For some unknown reason, the channel Drive Tribe turned up, and I don't really look at cars too much, but it was Richard Hammond driving in the new Capri. And it made me laugh because he had the Capri out there from the 70s, and then he had this new Capri, and it's an SUV. 2 totally different vehicles. And he said himself, he said, what is this that makes this a Capri other than badge only? And that's what it is. And that's what you have to understand about the video. I'm an old fuddy-duddy. I was expecting a Capri to look like the Capri, but it's not. But this is the new Capri for a new audience and a new family and somebody to embrace the word Capri again. So, yeah, I got it. It's quite good. And if you haven't heard already, Steam have got a sale and it's on until October 6th. I've already bought some games. My favourite, the one that I'm most looking forward to is one I think called Astronautics. That might be a game I'll buy for my friend Denny, who's bought me a game. I'm looking forward to looking at that. But Cold Beer is somebody that I go to because he does the Steam sales and he lists all the games that are at 90%. So you could just go down the list 90% and just go, right, what's that price then? What's that price then? And you'll see stuff at $1.99 and $1.50 and $4.99, which means if it was 90% off, this game would have been 20 or 30 quid. Fantastic time for you to be a gamer if you're into that sort of thing. Obviously not a lot of people, not everybody is, but you know, I still think it's a fantastic thing, and it's on till tomorrow. So worth a buy. I mentioned him earlier on and said that I watched his channel. He did a video called State of the Gaming Part 2, and being honest with people upsets them, which is honestly quite true. He was talking about where even developers were having a go at him because he was sounding them out for their games, and that upset them. But sometimes you've got to be true and sound them out. Maybe they'll do something about it. I dare say a lot of it is down to how you say it. I've always walked that fine line. But yeah, Weatherby is very much out there, up there, and he wanted to let you know the gaming industry is not great at the moment. It's all indie. The best thing is indie. I totally agree with that. And sounding people out gets you hated. So yeah. And then the last one is Spare Time Repairer. That's the channel. And this came up because of the word Laserdisc, and as you know, Laserdisc I'm a big thing on. This was a repair on a Laserdisc player, so the episode was called Dabbling with Laserdisc, and it was great to see the opening of a dual-sided machine, so I could see the mechanics and how well engineered that product was. Absolutely fantastic. And that's the end of what I watched on YouTube. And then you've got my section called Film, TV and Soundtracks YouTube. And this is where I put all the film-related stuff in. And we get to Ian Hill, the Ramblings. My mate, my best supporter, my hoppo. Don't know what I'd do without him, really, in the week. But please do go over to his channel, have a look. There's something there for you, I'm sure. He does video reviews, film reviews, record reviews, CD reviews, talks about his history with bands, Old Grey Whistle Test, TV, magazines. It even goes to stamps and cards and everything. It really is like a retro zone. He calls it the Ramblings because he rambles on, he says. But I don't see that. Definitely go over there and look. If you like it, subscribe and like. But I can't recommend him highly enough. And we do a live every Wednesday. So this week he did a top 5 war films between 1978 and 1984. All individual episodes, by the way, for the years. Doctor Who's Remembrance of the Daleks review. X-Files Season 4 Episode 23 review. And if you haven't noticed, that's Season 4 Episode 23. How many episodes is that then if you go back to Season 1? Whoa! That's a lot of episodes. And then, of course, Live with Me. We did it on a Thursday this week, but it's generally a Wednesday. So much there. And, like I say, some weeks there's even more. So please go and have a look at that. And then we've got Mondo Chelovic Movies, who I don't personally know. I just like his channel. He's my go-to guy to learn about horror. Hammer horror films, all of that sort of stuff, all the new stuff. And this week he got a video he got out called The Keep 4K Imprint Special Edition Unboxing, because he was gifted a copy of The Keep, and it came from the imprint label, which I believe is in Australia, and it's a bloody expensive edition. It's like 140 quid, and somebody gifted it to him. Now, the one thing I will tell you about that is that somebody must really like him, because 140 quid box set plus the 40 or 50 quid shipping alone for that product, you've got to be pretty rich. I'd have loved it. At the same time as The Keep came out, June came out, and it's a gorgeous set. Just look at an unboxing of June from Imprint. and you'll see it. It's 140 quid. It will make it 180 quid if you order it. Just too expensive for me. It's not a grail. I don't like use that term anyway. I've got June in, so I'm quite happy with what I got, but I'd have loved it. Do you know what I mean? If that does come available, I'll have a look at it again. But 140 quid plus it's the 40 quid shipping that I'm really pissed off about, to be quite honest. The 140 quid doesn't faze me. So, yeah, a great video. The Keep is a great horror film. Go and have a little look at that video. Then you've got my friend Josh Through the Lens. Fantastic channel. He's sort of like Barry Norman of YouTube. He doesn't let anything faze him, and he basically will call something out if something is woke or not. And he loves predicting things, and he likes to be a film, aficionado type person. And he goes into the background of things like he liked the cinematography, how the sound worked in a certain scene, all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, he did a couple of videos. He did One Battle After Another review, because that's a new film that's out. Another Blu-ray collection review, so it's all of his Blu-rays. And then he did another one a couple of days later because he went out and bought some more. So it was another Blu-ray collection, part 3. Because there's a part 1, but it was a week before, or a week before that. So absolutely fantastic. And I like looking at people's collections. I like to know what they're into, if you see what I mean. He's got a heck of a lot of Disney, I'll say that. But he's got a lot more to offer than that. Then you've got, go and have a little look at his channel. Brilliant. Did you see that? Another nice guy. He's up in his game in regards to content. My God, he did a Good Boy 2025 review, Urchin 2025 film review, One Battle After Another 2025 film review, and he did Z Talks, episode 71. Yes, he's up to episode 71 of his little talks about films and what people are watching and liking and all that sort of stuff. Absolutely brilliant. Definitely worth a look, you know. Then we've got my mate Jim Jam Movies, who I've met. And I'm so happy for him because he went to his first Comic Con and he's really, really excited about it. He went to his first video that he brought out was called My First Comic Con Video. At Telford, and then the next one was a talk on my my experience at Telford Comic Con, because he really wants to talk about it, and then a look at Alan Ford's work, because he was a guy that was at the Telford Comic Con talking about his films and TV work, and he was linking it to the videos and DVDs and Blu-rays that he's got in his collection. So a marvellous week for him. Absolutely marvellous. Be nosy and have a quick look at things. Brilliant. And the last thing that I've got in my film section, which is always smaller than it used to be, but still equally, I think, as good if you're into your films, is Commode and Mayo's Take. That's the channel on YouTube. They used to be on Radio 5, and they used to do film reviews on Radio 5. No, it was Radio 2. Don't get me wrong. But they did a film club review where they reviewed Urchin along with other movies. I think you'll find One Battle After Another is there. It's because there's been quite a few releases this week. Always a great to listen to Commode. I think he's really insightful. And so that's become a fave of mine that I might put at the top underneath Ian Hill. That's how much I like that channel. And then we're towards the end. We're at Game and Tech YouTube. And this is stuff that my friends have actually brought out, who part of my Discord, more computer or game related, but equally as good. And we've got Down the Rabbit Hole right at the beginning. And he did 2 videos that I've got anyway that I can see. He's probably got a third one out by now. And it's called In D&D, We Were as Dumb as Cat in the Hat. And when we get to Cat in the Hat books, why, we just about had them in our primary school. I remember them. But he was talking about something that I can totally relate to. Even in games, and role-playing games that are video related, let alone the board game which he's talking about, which is in D&D that he's talking about here. You have a dungeon master and he's telling you, you go down this route and you see something that says don't enter here, right? So what do? Oh, I'm on a quest. I bet you there's something really good behind there. I'll go in, right? That's the problem. But how many notices do you have to say, don't come in here? No, turn back. I've told you before, turn back. Don't come in here. Oh, you've gone further in. Oh, don't open this then. All of that. And you still did it. No wonder you died. Interesting tale. Much more funnier than I told. Go and have a look. Definitely worth a look. And the next one was Time Pilot, actually the next new Wave Toys release. Now, this is because he's got these little mini arcades, right? They're little devices, you know, small screens, so you can play Phoenix and all of that sort of stuff on it. The guy that makes them on a drawing board and then manufactures them, you know, which is done through New Wave Toys, has had an accident. He's been in hospital, so there's a delay to the next one. But he's speculating that Time Pilot is the next one. Go and watch that video. It's really very interesting, very informative as well. So, again, I'm just going to take a little break, and then we're going to get to the end of this video. So, thanks very much for bearing with me. And that was seconds. You know, you see, even the door hasn't changed. I just had to do something on my PC, make something sure it was working. And we get to Robert's Retro Gaming, who I've mentioned before, Canadian royalty, an absolutely lovely, wonderful guy. Very soft, very warm, plays great games, much better at them than I am. A true friend who I collaborated with on a server many years ago. Missed those days. We were playing Minecraft. So what's he done this week? Well, he's done Dwarf Fortress Classic Episode 7, Minecraft Play Episode 162, ZX Spectrum, a compilation of his damn terrific warp playthrough, Atari 8-bit games, Flying Ace, River Rescue, Fighter Pilot and Tetris, and even a SNES game, Mega Man X. SNES games in a mainly Atari orientated channel. Brilliant. So much variety. Well worth it. You also have something to look forward to because he's in Canada. If you're in this country, in the UK, he'll be putting that out at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. When you wake up at, you know, to go to work, 7 o'clock, whatever, you'll be... God, all these noises. I do apologise, but I am waiting for a phone call. You'll be amazed by some of the stuff. And I dare say there's more that I haven't even... Because I haven't even seen my phone today in regards to what he's released today. So definitely go and have a little look at that. Please, maybe even subscribe. It's Robert's Retro Gaming. The next one is Steve's Gaming Part 2. And you know about him, I do my salute. You little bastard, little shit, you're too good. He started to bring his stuff out, and he's done some C64 shorts with a game called Caves of Evil, where I'll tell you what, I watched that really closely, couldn't work out how to do this particular game either. It really is evil. I mean, you can't turn around and say anything other than that game is evil. So that was worth watching. And then Games I've Never Played Episode 3, which has got Crash Bandicoot in it. He's also done a home soft. I think it's discs 78, 79 and 80 because he was having some problems. I wish I could help him. I wish he'd reach out. I've got a funny feeling he's got a hub that he's using, and I'm pretty sure that's what's going wrong. But I'm only second guessing. It didn't distract from the fact that it was a great video. Go over there now, watch it. Brilliant. And if you want, subscribe. Then we get to Colin Jones, aka Ponder, who did a blog, as I mentioned before. It's number 93, and he did an addendum to it. He also did a drone vlog outtakes, and as I mentioned before, my name's never been mentioned so many times. I loved it, thought it was absolutely fantastic. Definitely worth a watch. And then 20th Century Gaming. My friend Mark, oh, what a nice guy he is. He usually comes in and sees Ian Hill, the rambling stuff, but I moved it from Wednesday to Thursday because of my mum's health. And so he was on night, so he couldn't see it. I try and see all his videos, and I must admit, even he's running those when I'm trying to get my mum to bed, so it's not the easiest of things for us. But he did a Commodore 64 Live Zap Issue 6 review, where he played the games that were inside Issue 6. And yesterday he did a C64 Live Steel Ranger Part 3, which I think he completed it. So Part 3, finally got to the end of it. And that's the text portion of my blog done. And if you want to know, I'd got to 2 hours 10 and I've done it in 1 hour and 45. Not that much of a shaving, but you wouldn't believe how much extra there was in the other one. I was much more verbose. Just going to go to the overhead cam now. Just show you some of the things that have come in this week. This is my 4K of Fright Night, which is gorgeous, don't get me wrong, but I'm disappointed that the cover, even though it's the poster cover, is the same as the Blu-ray. If you've got the Blu-ray, yeah, you know, you might as well get rid of it now, because this is a 4K and Blu-ray set, and it's the exact same cover, the exact same steelbook, but obviously 4K is so much better quality in regards to the HDR side of things and the color contrast. Then we've got the live action How to Train Your Dragon, and because I've got this goes into the, oh, you've got the cartoons, so this must be added to your collection type thing. So I've got How to Train Your Dragon now live action 4K with Blu-ray. It's a lovely looking steelbook, not the best. It's nice. You can see from the back. If you pause that, you might find what the extra things are, deleted scenes, all of that sort of stuff. Marvellous. One I'm really looking forward to, Megan 2. Megan 1 came out. Thank God they didn't do the fear of missing out thing this time with the Megan Blu-ray coming out, and then later on they do a 4K. It's got a nice cover, all lovely purples. I love Megan, the first film. The second one is more of the same. I do believe it's a slightly different tact. Probably not quite as good as the first one, but the first one is the first one, if you see what I mean, where you're building up what the whole story is about. This one is sort of like a continuation. So you always tend to find the second one's got the hardest job. And probably my favourite of the week is this Creepshow 2, which is a box set. Not a steelbook or anything, but I love Creepshow. Creepshow 2's not bad. Much better than the follow-up films. And of course, the TV series is really good. If you've got time to be able to see the series, which ran into 4 seasons, it's definitely worth your while, especially if you like little anthology films like that. And so again, I'm having to forego the trailer bit. It's now, if you want to know the time, gone 5:30, and I haven't seen anybody or anything other than my mum, and all of my day's gone, and I'll be at work tomorrow. So with that, I hope you appreciate that I've done it again for a second time. Thank you for watching this blog. Hopefully smoother sales next week, but it all depends on what I can do about this PC. I've got a funny feeling it's a power supply problem, or a capacitor's gone on the board which allows it to boot up but causes power issues around the board, which is why I get so many issues. With that, I'm just going to have to have fingers crossed that I'll be able to afford another PC and able to keep going. And with that, I'm going to say salute, and thank you very much for watching. I hope you got some enjoyment out of this. I hope it's been entertaining. And people are probably going to be shocked. What, he did it under 2 hours this time? What the hell's going on? Is he ill? And with that, you can tell them, no, he's not. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.